Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this September 25th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. We're glad that you are here this morning with us. And if you want to find our content, if you go to EOA.network, EOA.network, you type that into a browser bar, that it will take you to a link tree where you can find the locations of our Roku, Facebook, website, our Instagram, and then also where all of these episodes end up as podcasts on Spotify and the different podcast networks. So here in just a little bit, we are going to have CHD Daisy Duren. You might know her as Daisy Thompson. She'll be right here with us and talk to us about all things CHD. So how are you, man?
Good morning. Good morning. It's first Friday. Busy weekend coming up for me.
Busy,
well,
yeah.
Every weekend in the fall is busy, but
yeah,
extra busy. Did you see in Coquille, this dude, McGuffin is his last name. He just won a $14 million lawsuit against the state and Coquille for wrongful imprisonment. He was in prison for 9 years for killing a girl. Mm-hmm. They had no DNA evidence, nothing. No witnesses, nothing on him, convicted him, and it got overturned only because they found DNA of another man on the girl's shoe. Could you imagine going to prison, no evidence?
Well, I know, but right, but he went there with an opinion of a public jury. So I mean, I don't know what did they have?
They didn't have anything.
Well, they had to have something. They had enough to convince 12 people.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, it is. You know, I mean, DNA has overturned those types of things before.
Yeah, they didn't even have a cause of death. How do you convict somebody of killing somebody if you don't know what killed her?
No, I understand that on the face, but there's more to that story.
Yeah, there's something crookedness, definitely.
Well, but I mean, you can have. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
A jury of your peers, you know. So and something went wrong clearly.
Yeah. $14 million wrong.
Yeah.
$9 million from the state and $5 million from the city of Coquille.
Yeah.
And his daughter, who was young at the time, has a lawsuit against the state as well, because he was in prison for 9 years. That's a long time.
I wonder, maybe next time you can tell us how they found him guilty.
They don't.
I know, that story's out there somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, for me, that's the way my mind goes. My mind immediately goes to, how could such an error happen? And there has to be some reason.
I would assume that there was some sort of, I know that he was 18 at the time, the girl was 15. They needed to find a killer. You know what I mean? I think it's one of those cases where the public demanded somebody be. You know what I mean?
Right.
Really.
But that's part of the checks and balances. Is that even if the public demands it, you still have 12 people, and it has to be unanimous. I mean, so 12 people unanimously found him guilty. You know,
and 12 people were unanimously wrong.
Apparently, but why is that? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how my mind works. It's like, okay, let's get the rest of the story. So
I don't
anyhow,
know what it is.
Yeah. Well, hey, do sports.
Let's do it.
All right, man.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Flex Steel makes it easy to bring your dream space to life with a variety of customizable options. You can design furniture that perfectly suits your home. Visit Northwest Furniture and Mattress to begin creating your perfect piece. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams in LeGrand. Northwest Furniture and Mattress. The LHS girls soccer team kicked off GOL play Tuesday night with a 6-0 road win versus Ontario. That game was supposed to actually be played tonight. It got moved up, I'm assuming probably because of referee issues. They host Baker next Tuesday here up at Community Stadium at 4 p.m. The boys soccer team lost Tuesday night at Community Stadium to Ontario 9-1. Ontario's the third-ranked team in the state. The Tigers are 0-1 in the GOL and 1-5 overall. They're on the road today in Nissa, and they take on the Bulldogs at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. LHS volleyball is at Baker tonight at 6:30. That should be a good game. This LHS volleyball team has gotten better just in these short few weeks that the season's been going. They've really, I mean, I watched them at the very beginning of the year, and then compared to now, they've taken strides as a team, and they're pretty fun to watch. LeGrand football has a bye this week around the GOL. Baker's on a bye. Ontario's on a bye. The Dows host Philomath tomorrow at 7, and Pendleton hosts Estacada at 7 p.m. as well. This Pendleton game will be live streamed right here on the EOA Live network, and I'll be over there on the call for Pendleton. I mean, so this year I'm going to end up doing 3 Pendleton games and all the LeGrand games. I don't mind doing a Pendleton game if LeGrand's not playing, and we're on a bye, so I guess I'll go harass some Pendleton fans. We're still taking advertising for the remaining LeGrand, Baker, and Pendleton home football games. Message us right here on Facebook or email office@eoalive.tv. In football around the valley, Ambler has a bye this week. Union has a bye this week. Cove is at Elgin tomorrow at 7, and Powder Valley is at Crane at 6. EOU men's and women's soccer have their CCC home openers this weekend. The women play Bushnell at 4 tomorrow and Corbin at 4 on Saturday, while the men follow right after the women. They play at 6 Bushnell on Friday night and then 6 Corbin on Saturday night. All that's up at Community Stadium, so get up there and support these guys. I mean, this EOU men's soccer team is legit. They're receiving votes in the national poll, and they're beating teams in the top 25. They're going to make a splash in the CCC this year. They're the defending tournament champions. They finished 4th in the regular season, and I mean, I would imagine they're going to be right near the top of the standings at the end of the year. Number 1 EOU volleyball goes on the road and takes on number 17 LCSC tomorrow night at 6, and then they take on Walla Walla on Saturday at 9. And those Walla Walla games are always weird because of their religious affiliation. They have to be after dark on Saturdays. So a 9 o'clock start, even in Walla Walla, which is not that far away, that's a late night for those ladies. EOU cross country is off this weekend, and EOU football looks to end their non-conference season with a road win over MSU Northern. They should be able to make this happen. I mean, like, the MSU Northern is the kicking bag of the Frontier Conference, so it shouldn't be a problem, but I kind of feel like this is a must-win for the Mounties, as their Frontier Conference schedule this year is one of the toughest schedules in the whole country, and they really have to win on Saturday. They really have to win. And then finally this Saturday, get your first peek at the 2026 Mountie softball team on the heels of their historic CCC tournament championship and 3rd place finish at the national tournament last spring. They host BMCC for a doubleheader starting at noon up at Peggy Anderson Memorial Field. AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams in LeGrand.
Good stuff, man. Thanks. Ooh. All right. Let's take a look outside. It's nice. I love this weather, man.
Oh, there's your dirty camera.
There's that. Oh, that's our dirty camera, dude.
I said your dirty camera. I don't get on ladders. That's Bennett's dirty camera.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's look at that weather graphic, Bennett. So 84 today, 41 tonight.
It don't look very folly out there today.
Yeah. Nope. It's, man, yep.
Give me another week or 2 of summer, please.
Yeah. Well, I think I guess it gets a little cooler on Monday. But,
all the way down into the 60s.
Yeah.
Oof.
So, good. All righty. Well, hey, we're glad that you guys are with us here this morning. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Daisy Duren from CHD.
The ESA program is a 2-year early intervention program. Our team endeavors to find clients in our community and in our county who are exhibiting the early signs and symptoms of psychosis. Some of the types of programming that we offer is individual therapy, group therapy, family therapy. We also offer medication management. Our ESA team meets our clients where they are. People are getting treatment in the way that they want to, in the place that they want to, and at the time that they want it. Some of the challenges that our ESA clients experience are more common than you think and just as treatable, especially with the early intervention. Call or stop by to learn more about our public health, behavioral health, and many other services we provide to the residents of Union County. CHD, working for healthy communities.
All right, we're back with Daisy Duren from CHD, but we really know you as Daisy Thompson from Becky, right?
Yes, Becky, my mom. Good morning.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good, yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks. And you and I have intersected at afar a number of different times, but never like this. So awesome. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Let's start with, you grew up here. You went to high school here.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of tell us a little bit about your life, you know, and then how you got back to LeGrand. What brought you back?
Okay. Well, yeah, just like you mentioned, I grew up here in LeGrand. This is my hometown. We already mentioned my mom, Becky, and growing up in Becky's studio of dance. So I danced my whole life, and early on had a professional dance career, was very fortunate and got to move around the world, and for a while danced for the Portland Trail Blazers, and that was a huge dream come true.
Now, and you had dreamed about that as a kid?
I did. In fact, I was thinking about it when we were talking about high school. In our old high school, those little weekly newsletters or monthly, I had said in there in one of those little articles that I wanted to be a Blazer dancer or a Laker girl.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, big, huge dream. And but I always knew, I started my education at EOU actually. Always knew I would go back and wanted to work in behavioral health. And so, once I got done with my performing career, because I still teach dance, still a huge love, I went and got my master's of social work, clinical social work at the University of Texas in Austin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so then worked there for a while. But a job came open at CHD about 10 years ago, and it drew me back.
Yeah. Well, awesome. And I had, for years, when we were first starting the business, we're just finishing our 15th year. And during the early years, I did your mom's dance recitals for years and years. And it seems like there was a time or two that you came back and was a guest dancer for your mom. Yeah. And one of those times, so was George, your brother. Yeah, he played the music at the beginning or at the intermission, I can't remember. And so then George and I met each other and connected then, and then he moved back also.
Yep, he came about to CHD, I think about 2 years after I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. All right. And so, so I'm sure your mom was absolutely thrilled.
She loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I've told George the same thing, to brag about your mom a little bit. So I was in My Fair Lady and played a major role in that, and had no idea that was going to require dancing, and was horrible at it, But your mom, I had only known her as the manager of a whole bunch of little dancers in her recitals, which is, she's fairly, she's a force. She's a force just generally, but. But when she was so gracious and so patient, and I really enjoyed both sides of her. But anyhow, so
she's the best at what she does.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, and she just celebrated an anniversary not too long ago, right?
It was. I think it was 45 years. I think. Yeah. Yeah.
45 years teaching dance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here in LeGrand.
Wow.
It's great. Everybody has a family member that's tied. Like my sister danced for your mom for like 12 years.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So if you ask anybody in this town, they're tied to Becky's
Yeah,
studio.
it's a LeGrand thing.
It really is.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So talk to me. What do you do at CHD? And I mean, talk to me about your CHD career. Kind of
Okay, yeah. So when I first came on to CHD, I came on as a behavioral health counselor. And I think you guys maybe just showed the video of the ESA program. I came in as the primary provider for that program, and we can talk about that too in a moment. And, you know, over the years have done a variety of different things. I moved into our mobile crisis supervision, I mean, you name it, and I've done it in the building. But at this point, currently, my position is as the interim behavioral health director at CHD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And so, and CHD is an amalgam of, it's like a collector of things. And so, I mean, I think it has over, Chris is here, 60 different departments, or, I mean, there's just a lot of different stuff. But help me understand what your particular area does.
So behavioral health, we're working in mental health and addictions when we say behavioral health. And so we have, you know, just like you said, a multitude of programs. I think about it from, we say womb to tomb. So we are treating behavioral health and those types of issues across the age span. We, like I said, we work in addictions, we work in mental health. You know, that's our behavioral health. But like you said, we're this big umbrella agency. So we also within our building have WIC, we have home visiting, we have veteran services, we have developmental disabilities. It's kind of like a one-stop shop. So anything as it relates to public health and well-being in the community, you can find it at CHD. And then the way I like to think about it is if we don't have it, for some reason, part of our job is to help connect you to find where it is in the community.
So is that, I mean, this is a fairly obvious question, but is that handy? I mean, you know, when you have all of those same things reside across the, you know, I mean, yeah.
It's huge, and I've worked in, you know, different places in different states where, you know, things are spread out across the town, and you know, and particularly for people, you know, who struggle with resources and being able to maneuver the community like that, to have it all in one spot is critical, and I think it's one of the really important and beautiful things about CHD.
Yeah. What is it that's important for us to talk about today? I had a question, another one, but it kind of ramped off somewhere.
You know, there's so many things that I'll try to, you know, hone in on a couple of them. I think, you know, as I was mentioning before, we do a lot of coordination of services. So I think of CHD kind of as a resource brokerage where we provide behavioral health services, but we also recognize in order for those to be relevant or, you know, for people to be able to access them, they also have to know how to access housing and food and clothing and the things that are required just to live, right? And so even if we don't directly provide those things in the community, if we know that's an issue through we do assessments every day for people, there's walk-in assessments. If we recognize that as a need, we're going to help a person coordinate to find those things so that it's not just about the behavioral health. Behavioral health is part of it, but it's a much bigger picture. And we see that and know that's important in our community. You know, and I would also say our coordination of care with the other entities in the community. So working with the Grand Ronde Hospital, working with law enforcement, working with the jail, with the courts, DHS, and I'm going to leave off some of them, but they are people and entities that we connect with on a daily basis, several times a day usually, to help support our clients. Because what we know is if we're doing that and we have those relationships fostered and we have good connections in the community, the outcomes for our clients are going to be much improved.
Yeah. So one of the things, help me understand the need of behavioral health services for Union County versus other parts of the state. I mean, help people understand where we are at in that measure.
Well, I mean, I think that we're not a lot different than other places. I would say where the differences come in maybe are between rural communities and bigger cities like what you see over on the west side of the state. So if I were, going to talk about what's different, I would probably focus more on that, like where we're located, what access we have to resources, and maybe that's where, if you were looking at what might look different or how it's different, that would be it, kind of our location and the ruralness of La Grande. But, what's going on here is not different. I mean, I talk to people across the state and in other states, and we have the same situations and needs happening, so I wouldn't say we're unique necessarily in how that looks.
So one of the terms that we've talked about as we've talked about this day is upstream services.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
thank you for, because that was on my mind.
Yeah, what is that? I know, it defines itself quite a bit, but what is that and why is that important?
Okay, it's hugely important, and it should have been the first thing that I talked about, because what we're talking about when we're talking about upstream services is identifying needs before they become full-blown problems, right? So we have a number of programs at CHD, and you guys will probably, put the groups up here in a moment. Over the course of the last several years, one of the things that I really wanted to have in our community were healthy opportunities for youth in our community that don't require, you don't require a mental health diagnosis. They are cost-free. They are open to everybody in the community. And so we are looking at ways to increase healthy socialization in our community and have it be open to everybody. So while we certainly treat things once they are diagnoses, we're also looking at identifying where needs are before they, erupt into that, and hopefully avoiding things like hospitalizations or incarcerations by providing these options to youth in the community.
Which is brilliant. It's like it's like how we got to bicycle helmets. Is because kids fall off and they have head injuries, and so how about if we do a little upstream care and have them wear helmets?
So
right?
you just basically replace proactive with upstream.
It's just another word for that. And
but it's much cooler.
It is. It sounds cool, right? But and I grew up in this town, and so that was something that was hugely important to me. And I know what it would, what it's like to not have, resources and money to be involved in sports or different types of activities like that, and wanted to have something that could be accessible to all the kids in our community. And so we really want to highlight those groups.
Yeah. So roll through some of those, Benny, as we're talking, and they're different subjects so that people can plug in crocheting, knitting, and relaxing. That'll make a highlight reel. So
wow.
No, but how awesome! And then put the schedule up, Bennett, too, because then you have these groups that they're just places where people can plug into.
Yes, and the goal was to have something every day of the week. That was, when I first started with our youth programming, and that was another part of my work, was in the youth programming, was to have something available every single day of the week and to have a variety of different options. And then the other thing I'll mention is that they don't all take place at CHD. We wanted to have them out in the community so that kids, if we have groups at schools, some of our local schools, and we have clinicians from CHD in some of our local schools. So we're really trying to do the outreach and be far and wide in the community, not just at CHD.
Yeah, the one on Friday is at the Elgin Library.
Perfect example. Yeah.
And are these age-based groups, or are some of them our age-based, and others?
It depends on the content. So you'll see some of them have a specific age range because the content would be more appropriate for that age. But we tried to have it be pretty vast. So if you just, you'd have to look at the description of the groups. And we do have adult groups too. I do want to mention that. I know we highlighted really the kids groups, but we're doing the same thing, and that's in development even further out in the adult world. So,
So we've talked a lot, because George Mendoza sits in this seat where you are, and different people. We've talked a lot about, particularly high school kids or kids needing to be connected with something. You were connected with dance when you were a kid.
Yes.
Kyle was connected with sports, and there's choir, and you know, all of the.
Yeah.
But the kids that are not connected, those are the ones. And I guess I'm presuming that's really.
That's our target.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We want to make this something that all kids can have. Because yes, I was very fortunate. Kyle, you were fortunate, but a lot of kids in our community don't have that
Right.
immediate access, and that's what I really wanted to create, was an opportunity for kids to have access to that. I used to do a dance group at
Right.
CHD because I felt it was my job to share that, because I had that growing up,
Right.
and wanted to share it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little off topic. Other than your mom, when you were growing up, who was that person that, you know, you built a relationship and was able to speak into your life?
Oh, I'm obviously mom.
Yeah.
Huge. Amelia Ettinger, and she was my Spanish teacher. She
Mine
is.
too.
Yeah, but you know what? She was. Part of my career dancing, I got to dance abroad in Spanish-speaking countries because I became bilingual.
Oh,
and,
interesting.
And that was huge, and I will always credit her with that. But you know, just another person in our community, another pillar person that was dedicated to kids in our schools, and so yeah.
Right, and these groups hopefully create those opportunities where an adult can observe a kid and go, wow, you're, you know, and for me when I'm with somebody like that, I'm going to get closer to them. I mean,
Yeah.
physically, I'm going to be in the same space as them in some manner. I'm going to look for an opportunity to you know, be open so that they can talk. And so it's that same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, while I can't share necessarily specific stories of kids that we work with, I can say there are a lot of success stories of, you know, kids coming from hard places and getting connected to things like the crocheting group.
Right.
Or one of our favorites, I don't think they're doing it right now, but they were doing a baking group. And I'm telling you, that drew a lot of kids and, you know, really fostered some positive relationships and getting kids, you know, thinking and doing things that maybe they wouldn't have considered before, and you know, re-engaging in school and having those relationships and positive supports in place, you know, fosters things like graduating from high school and even thinking about higher education. So there's so much value to it.
Yeah. So if, let's say somebody is out there and they need to talk to somebody. I mean, they need interaction beyond a group, or maybe it's before that. Maybe, you know, what do they do?
Well, we can talk about our mobile crisis services. So
Yeah.
those are, at CHD, we have a 24/7 live in-person response to behavioral health and, behavioral health crises. So this might look more, I mean, and it can be, you know, they don't have to be in full-blown crisis to
Yeah.
access this line, but this might be further, you know, down the stream,
Right.
let's say, you know, when needs are pretty urgent. And we have an excellent team of providers in our mobile crisis team. Combination of qualified mental health professionals, so people who have their master's degree in a social science field, QMHAs or qualified mental health associates, so those are people that have bachelor's degrees, peer support specialists, and they are responsive initially over the phone, so you guys will see the phone number pop up here, where anybody in the community can call this number, and we're going to respond. And, you know, similar to what I was explaining before, if we don't have the resource, we're going to help find the resource or connect the resource. The big goal with that programming, though, is to keep people in our community. So to connect them to supports like at CHD or at DHS or what have you, to avoid hospitalizations and incarceration. So that particular program is kind of on the cusp of, you know, either we're going to have to, you know, transition them to a higher level of care, or do our best to keep them right here in the community by addressing it immediately as it's happening.
But that is essentially what it is that I talked about that I would do personally. I mean, the goal of that is to literally be in the same space in person with
Yes,
someone.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then if they dial that number, it's like, talking to somebody on the phone might help, but I really just need to be
somebody
face to
here.
face. Yeah.
And our goal internally with our program is that we're there within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and we usually accomplish that.
Yeah.
There are moments when it's busy and
Yeah.
things get wild, but generally that's the goal. We get there within 15 minutes.
Wow. And so, and that's staffed 24 hours a day?
24/7. Yeah,
20
we have staff Monday through, well,
All
7
the
days
time.
a week.
Yeah.
7 days a week, 24/7. Staff are available and we respond, and then many people like myself, some of our supervisors, we're consulting with the workers who are out on the front line.
Yeah.
24/7. I get calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, what should I do about this? And
So next time you do that, will you send us a selfie? Because I want us do you
No.
do you look as good at 3 a.m.?
No, I would not, because sometimes I answer the phone and I'm in bed. And,
Yeah, well, I was going to say,
Yeah.
that would be brutal. In some way. Yeah,
You know what? But it's so important, and I get that comment from why would you do that?
Right.
Because this is my community, and it is important to me.
Well, and at the end of the day, whoever you're going, they don't really care whether you have makeup on or your hair
No,
is fixed or not.
that's not a thing.
They just want to see you.
Yeah, they want help.
Yeah. Is that rewarding for you personally?
Absolutely, yeah. And again, I tie it back to my roots here. And I have worked in other places and obviously felt compelled to help other people.
Yeah.
But it's totally different when it's the town that you grew up in. There's something else to it.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Man. Okay. So then there's another number too. Tell me about the 988 services and how that's a little different.
So 988 services, those are nationwide, and that's another call line.
Okay.
So people can also access that 24/7, but that is a remote service. So 988 folks aren't going to show up at your house, but it
Okay.
is a very valuable and necessary resource, and it is certainly something that people can and should access. And I would just add, if you are needing somebody to show up where you are, if you need to meet somebody at Riverside Park, for example, here, then you would want to call
that other number.
number.
Let's put that up again real quick, Bennett. Yeah, and that information. Yeah. Well, awesome. So, tell me about what else. What else is kind of under your umbrella that you scoop in? There's a term that we talked about yesterday: resilience.
Resilience, yeah.
Yeah, and that, that's kind of like, these terms, they're, give us some flesh and blood for that term, yeah.
I think about the approach being a strengths-based, so recognizing that everybody that we work with, no matter where they are, in the process of getting help, have strengths and resources and really valuable insights. And so when I think about resilience, I think about the ways in which people come built with a number of skills and ways to take care of themselves. And I think about resilience on a spectrum. So maybe it's the case that somebody's in a really tough place, but they know some things. They have access to some resources. And what we do as social workers is try to figure out what that is and build upon it with people. So we recognize people as, I don't look at it like I'm going to make the magic happen. I'm going to partner with a person, identify what their strengths and resources are, and then help them build from there. I think about protective factors, things that can increase resilience, right? So access to housing, access to food, access to clothing, our basic needs, employment. One thing I didn't talk about, an incredible program that we have at CHD is supported employment. So it's helping people who are struggling to be employed or have work that would eventually help them have access to those resources. And so it's such an important program that we have at CHD. And if I had more time, I would talk more extensively about it. But when I think about, again, resilience, it's about protective factors and the things that we can help bring to a person's life or partner with them to bring to their life so that they can achieve safety and success in whatever it is that they want to do in life.
Yeah, so maybe an analogy that I'm thinking of is, when you're totally stressed out or you're let's say you're physically tired, you know, you've been exercising or whatever it might be, and then you really have less capability to go home and lift something else. I mean, your ability is less because you're exhausted. And so then resilience is helping people. They're built up on the front end so that they can tolerate more. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think I talked about it in the very beginning about us being a resource brokerage. What we're trying to do is find all of the missing pieces. So it's not just about treating the behavioral health symptoms. If a person is hungry or they don't have where to live, obviously their behavioral health is going to be impacted, right? So we look at it as a person in their environment and all of the many things that, you know, are needed for them to be well. So, you know, the behavioral health intervention is part of it, but really we're thinking about how also to get them connected to, you know, food and housing. I keep saying that, but it's so much a part of what happens at CHD. You know, people coming in and they are unwell, they are stressed out, they're struggling, they, you know, depression or anxiety or whatever the mental health symptom is, exacerbated by not having a place to live or, you know, not having a vehicle. So, you know, we really want to look at the big picture, and we have case managers at CHD who do such an excellent job of supporting that process, and it's a team coordinated effort, you know, when we're doing that.
Well, and it's so easy for us, and fortunate. I mean, we're fortunate. It doesn't matter how you slice it, whatever you're dealing with. You know, I personally am fortunate, and it's hard to relate with somebody who doesn't have a house, or they don't have a car, or they're struggling to even have a phone to make, and I mean, whatever the case might be, those, and all of those things create stress.
They do. They add up.
And they make it harder. They make it harder to be a successful person on an everyday level. Yeah.
Right. And that's what we recognize.
Yeah.
And so, and I think it's important to highlight the ways in which we're addressing much more than just, you know, the anxiety or the depression. We're looking at the big picture and trying to help fill in the blanks or help person access those resources, because it naturally will then reduce some of the anxiety and depression.
Yeah. Now, behavioral health is kind of a mushy, I mean, I know you live with it and you've been living with that for a long time, but it you know, the question I have is, and we're boiling it down to a behavioral health crisis connected to a mobile team, okay? But how would somebody know? So it's like, if I'm having a down day, I mean, it's just things didn't go as well, and I'm, you know, it's a crappy day. How do I know the difference between, and how would somebody out there know the difference between I'm having a crappy day, but this is different?
Yeah.
How is it different in how somebody is feeling?
Well, when I think about, I'll do the person themselves, and then I'll talk about how it's assessed.
Yeah.
You know, because maybe you were going to work and you can't go to work anymore because you simply can't get out of bed because you're so depressed. It is a functional impairment. That's when it really becomes critical, right? And obviously we want to catch it before that, but when you're talking, when does a person, like, when does it, you know, when do they understand or become aware? It's different for every person, but when it is, you know, really a crisis, it's when it's a functional impairment. They're unable to have, you know, successful relationships with their family. They can't go to work. They, you know, something is just really, really difficult, right? And where we come in, our folks are trained. They go to school. Either they have a, you know, like I said, a bachelor's degree, master's degree, beyond, to learn how to assess and identify what's going on, and then most importantly, know how to connect them to the appropriate services depending on what the assessment yields.
Yeah. So I'm sure I'm just guessing. So you go and meet somebody, they ask you to come meet them, and you come into their environment and you can tell that they haven't washed clothes for, I mean, there's little signs of them not functioning.
Yeah.
Is that I mean,
absolutely, and
yeah.
especially when we're coming into the home. I always say that, what you do in a home visit versus what you might do in an office visit, you learn in one intervention versus, you go
Right,
6 months
yeah.
without knowing what's going on
Right,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, and so then, if we're invited into a home, then we're able to assess that as well and see, what are the other supports that are needed here in order to help this person get well and feel better.
Well, and it gives you indications. I mean, because you're right. I mean, if they come into your office and you're counseling with them, then clearly they've gotten dressed, whatever it took for them to get them, and you're kind of seeing them through a tube. Mm-hmm. You're seeing them in this moment. But when they're in your house, you're seeing the environment that they're in. I mean, am I thinking right?
Yeah, and to the extent that people want us to come in and are willing to accept that help, that does give us a better indication of what the needs are if we are invited in.
So, what else? What else is out there that?
Well, I might just wrap it up by saying, especially as it relates to the mobile crisis programming, again, we're going to do the assessment, see what we can do, see what's needed. Sometimes it is, a higher level of care and we'll work towards that. The majority of the time what we're doing is called safety planning and creating ways for a person to be safe in the community. So engaging other family members, social supports are huge, and I can't emphasize that enough. Where I correlate wellness, I see people who are surrounded by more people and natural supports. So not just CHD, but people in their own community. And I think that maybe that's an invitation here, for people to to be around for other people, right? We're important, CHD is important, but our community and the ways in which we wrap around our own community members is probably even more important.
It just can't, and it doesn't matter if it's CHD interacting with somebody or us as people interacting with other people that we know. I mean, not too long ago, I have a family member who I had been talking to, he's 4 hours away from here, and finally after trying to manage things over the phone, I just said, hey, I'm coming to see you.
There you go.
I mean, it was the morning of, I said, I'll be there by noon,
Yeah.
And when I stepped into his apartment, there were so many things that were like that. It was like, you're not functioning.
Yeah.
You're, and it just, I mean, but me injecting myself, it was like, I mean, I wanted to be judgmental. I wanted to be all of those things, but it's just like, hey, I want to spend time with you.
Yeah.
I'm here with you. I'm going to be here for several hours. In fact, I'm going to spend the night here, and me just, I mean, it just makes a huge difference.
It does, and maybe that's the, kind of the, really, I know I said that's the last thing I'll say, but I'm going to say one last thing. This is Suicide Prevention Month, the month of September, and, what as community members, what you can do, you don't have to work at CHD to notice that something isn't going well for a person, and things to look for, isolation, increased use of substances, people looking disheveled, right? Maybe there's a physical change in what's going on, to notice the signs and to reach out and connect and help them get to services, because sometimes when you're in that space, it's really hard to reach out, and you need the community around you to support that process. So, I mean, way more important than maybe what we're doing is that piece of it, right?
Right.
And then today at noon, if anybody is bored and doesn't have much to do, we're going to be at the library holding signs of hope, because that's maybe the biggest message here, that there is help. We are here. People are not alone, and we do want to help.
Well, and I think that's the ultimate upstream services, is us intersecting with each other, you know, and we don't do that. I mean, so often it's a lot easier to see somebody who is in need and just go, oh,
Yeah.
they have a family member, they have somebody who will take care of that, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes it just means that we need to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all busy, and it is easy to do
Yeah.
that. But a challenge to everybody listening,
Yeah.
stop and connect with somebody.
Yeah, and it is so, I mean, we talk about this all the time, and that is that, I mean, we're so polarized nationally right now, you know, and, you know, well, but at the end of the day, if somebody needs their tire changed, I mean, if they're along the road and they have a flat tire, and it's funny, not too long ago, I had some friends, younger friends, and I won't tell on them, but some younger friends who, you know, they needed to jump the car. I mean, they needed to jump the battery. They had to look at a YouTube video to figure out how to jump a car.
Oh, I would have to
Yeah,
too.
but the point is that there's an opportunity for us to intersect with people like that, and it doesn't matter who they are or what, you know, where they are in their views of whatever, you know. I mean, it's just an opportunity for us to be kind as human beings and to extend kindness to people. And ultimately, that's what gives people hope. I mean, ultimately, when they see the kindness of others, it's like, well, man, maybe I have a fairly narrow view on this hopelessness.
Yeah. And that's, you know, it's what it takes, I think, at this point in our lives and where we are. Is to.
So you said today, I mean, tell me what's happening today at noon?
We're going to be, many of us, community members,
Yeah.
behavioral health specialists alike, we're going to be over at the library holding up signs of hope, and their messages essentially telling people, you're not alone, you are important, please stay here with us.
Yeah, and I've seen it probably was the same group at the corner of Adams and
Yeah,
Highway
over
City.
at Elkhorn.
Yeah, doing that thing. Yeah.
All of the classes that you offer, they're free, right?
Absolutely.
Let's be clear about
yes,
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
No barriers. That's
Yeah.
the goal.
Well, one more time before we quit, Bennett, give us those numbers. So then, this is the local number that you can call. Option 6 will get you connected with somebody who will come and visit you 24/7, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And like Daisy said, if you said, hey, meet me at Pioneer Park, hopefully that's in the middle of the day sometime, but that they would meet with you. And then, of course, the national hotline is 988, and Bennett put that information up one more time. So, all right. Hey, thank you, Daisy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Phone numbers in the comments as well for the local number.
Yep. All right, want to get us out here?
Let's do it. On this day, which is September 25th, 1639, the first printing press in America is set up in Cambridge under the guarantee of Harvard College. 1789, on this day, the U.S. Congress proposes the Bill of Rights. 1926, on this day, Henry Ford announces an 8-hour, 5-day work week for workers at Ford Motor Company. And it kind of had influence on other companies because it became really popular. 1992, the Mars Observer launches from a space shuttle. 2017, the very first woman graduates from the U.S. Marine Corps Infantry Officer course. It took all the way till
What year?
2017.
2017?
2020, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg becomes the first woman to lie in state at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. The number one song in America on this day 20 years ago. This song seems like it was yesterday. Gold Digger by Kanye West and Jamie Foxx. And then the quote of the day comes from Robert Heinlein. One of the sanest, surest, and most generous joys of life comes from being happy over the good fortune of others. One more time. One of the most sanest, surest, and generous joys of life come from being happy over the good fortune of others.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you guys. Don't forget, tomorrow night is
Pendleton and Estacada.
Pendleton
Yep.
Estacada right here on the network. Kyle's going to be calling that game.
Yep.
Yep. So, see you guys soon.